So hello everyone. My name is Aishman Nag and I'm from Grow Junction. And today we have our special guest with us, Ms. Monalisa Sahu. Hello, ma'am.
Hi,
So,
hi Ayushman. Hi everyone.
ma'am, we would like to have a brief introduction from your end.
Hello everyone. So, I'm Monalisa and go by the name of Mona generally. And I'm a client solutions manager with Meta. Been here for slightly more than 1.5 years now. I have more than 10, like almost around 10 and a half years worth of experience, primarily in e-commerce and e-commerce performance marketing. So few orgs where I worked are Snapdeal, Google for a year, and Digital Insurance was my last stint.
Okay, that's great to hear. Ma'am, can you give us a small background of how you came to this particular stage of your life?
That's a very largish question. I tried to take a stab at it. How it started off was when I graduated from like post my MBA. I joined ICICI Bank. While it was a very good org to kickstart career with, finance was something that I realized was not the most exciting of opportunities for me. So I wanted to make a switch to marketing, and that's when this whole space of internet companies were open up in India back in 2011 and 2012. And I reached out to a large number of companies, starting off as a digital marketing fresher. And Snapdeal was the one that offered me the opportunity to get started on that path. And then a lot of, role changes, etc. Post later, here I am.
Okay, ma'am, that's great to hear. So, ma'am, can you share some of your, visions or goals that you had over the past few years or you are having now?
Um, See, I wouldn't say it's a very large goal, but what I do aspire for is like every role that I pick up, it adds something of value to me. So when I picked up, like I'm thinking of my first stint at Snapdeal.
Mhm.
So I had like zero knowledge about the domain. In fact, there were very few people at that point of in time in the country who, and digital marketing was like a fresh new career opportunity that was opening up. So I pretty much learned everything on the job, failed on a lot of day-to-day activities, but that's what the part and parcel of the process is. So net saying that every role, every transition that I made from there on, either it was something in terms of my functional skill, which is adding to the domain knowledge, or adding on terms of softer skills. So be it either team management or learning about a new aspect of marketing, or just for example, like my current role, which is more centered around solutions or consultative selling. So that's something is adding value to me. So that's my mantra. Like every role that you pick up, should add something new to you.
I think that's a very great learning for all the viewers over here. So, ma'am, after your undergrad, did you have any work ex or were you a fresher when you joined the B school?
I was a fresher when I joined. Um, in hindsight, I would have liked to work for a year or two before I joined there. But yeah, the way the panned out, I ended up joining as a fresher. The reason I'm saying this is, and also why summer internship becomes very, very important as a part of B school curriculum, is when you come, um, like when you have a little bit of work experience and you don't come to the B school program not as a fresher, you have some perspective about how people work, how corporate setup is, the softer unsaid skills which are not taught in B school, like how do you handle projects, how do you handle the pressure of deadlines. So while academically it's different, when you're getting paid to do that, it's a slightly different ballgame because you are responsible to someone else. At least in B school, while you are doing projects, you are meeting deadlines, you're accountable only to yourself. Here, you're accountable to someone else and you have to answer back to them. So those dynamics like those are the soft skills you could have picked up through work. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents.
Okay, ma'am. So, when you joined your B school, did you have like any, like pre-notion that this is the kind of domain, like specialization rather, that you would rather go to, or like were you like open to all the specializations at first?
So interestingly, my B school, Bangalore, didn't offer any sort of specialization. So everyone graduates with the same PGDM diploma certificate. So while I did lean a lot towards marketing subjects because that's something that was of interest to me, I also picked up a lot of supply chain and a few subjects around organizational behavior, etc. Primarily because the professors taking those courses were really very skilled in that particular domain, as well as the course curriculum was of interest to me. And I think that was like that approach suited me. I would like, if I had to do it again, I would do the same, primarily because you're not siloed to a particular domain, right? You get a perspective of how, like for example, this was like very insightful. We were working on a project in our for Maggie, like, and then you would realize that how a supermarket buys versus how a kirana store owner buys would be very different, right? Because superstore, they would have like their yearly contracts in place. Kirana store folks would have, they would end up buying in credit. So having those nuances and also help you understand the larger picture of how businesses operate. So tomorrow, if your supply chain colleague talks to you, you are not like completely lost on what that person is trying to say.
Okay. So, ma'am, the current domain that you are you're working in. So, ma'am, what would you say that is a benchmark to get into this particular kind of domain in sort of any organization? Like, is it necessary for experienced candidates or freshers are also good to go, or can like students who have a diverse experience, can they also like join this particular domain?
When you say diverse, you mean?
Ma'am, let's say like people who have an experience which is uh, not relatable to this particular domain, but maybe they are trying something new for themselves. So, like, do
Oh,
they have
understood.
yeah.
Understood. So I'll two parts to it. So I'll take the first one. Is any particular knowledge required? Absolutely not. Because as I was saying, I started off with like completely ground zero as a fresher, and I pretty much learned everything on the job. So there are a lot of certifications out there which helps interested aspirants to gain some knowledge about what metrics the domain, like digital marketing, ends up using, like what are the metrics that people usually track, framework, etc. But is it a prerequisite? Not necessarily. So it completely depends on an employer if they're willing to give a fresher a chance to learn on the job and pick up the ropes from there.
Okay, absolutely.
So that was the first part, and the second part was diverse. So I'll tell you what it would be. So like if you come from a different domain per se into digital marketing, yes, it would be very helpful because you get in a perspective from another vertical, right? But it's a very I would say functional knowledge driven workspace. So you need to know how ad platforms work, you need to know how tech platforms work, you need to understand how bidding works on, let's say, Google, on Facebook, or on any other programmatic channel. So it does take some amount of time to learn those and then get a sense of like what industry benchmarks would be. Like if you are getting a particular number, does it look good, bad, or ugly?
Okay. So I think that clears things up. Thank you so much for that. So, ma'am, our next question is that can you like just give an overview like what your life has been in your current organization?
Sure. So as I said, I was working. I am working as a client solutions manager. So what it involves is consultative sales. So what it means is like, let's say if it's a very large advertiser, so how do you help them succeed on meta platforms? Like, what are the marketing objectives they should be, like what their KPIs are, what marketing objectives they should be using to gun for those KPIs. If they are not meeting those KPIs, like then how we sit down with them and on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and then figure out like how can we make that journey to bridge that gap. So like if they're lagging behind, then how do we make that journey to bridge that gap and achieve their KPIs? So yeah, in a nutshell, that's my role.
Okay, okay. And ma'am, like, what kind of adventurous ride has it been like? You have been a part of, like so many companies and so as you said that you have always been open to, like new things so that you can grow. So you
Hmm.
tried a lot of things. So ma'am, like if you can tell that, like after each and every organization that you have, like left behind and moved on to the new one. So, what are the key takeaways that you have taken from the the previous companies or the roles?
Um, I'm thinking like it would be very different from org to org.
Mhm.
So like I owe a lot to my stint at Snapdeal, because that's where I picked up, the first initial steps of this function, like the functional domain.
Yeah.
And sort of also like Snapdeal was a very high growing startup at that point of time.
Yeah.
So I picked up a lot also from on how to manage manager expectations, how to handle multiple projects. I also made a lot of mistakes on the road, so learning from those as to like keep your manager aligned at all steps. So those things I picked up like very, it was like my first job, so you picked up all those softer skills as well,
Mhm.
along with functional knowledge. And then as you move on, the delta of learning of course is not as high as your first or your second job, but you still pick up nuances. Like let's say if I were to see the transition, then the transition would be like, now I'm much more comfortable in the domain. I'm much more comfortable in articulating and what I'm thinking about, be it to any size or structure of audience, and being much more comfortable in my own skin.
Okay. So again, thank you, ma'am, for the answer. So moving on to the next question, ma'am. This is for the students who are now a part of like a B school. So what often happens is that like by this time, so their summer internship placement process has been closed. They will be
Yeah.
starting their summer internship from the month of March and or April. So a common problem that is seen in these kind of scenarios is that maybe a person who is interested in marketing, he didn't get his desired role in the summer internship, or these kind of things happen. So how much of an impact does it have, like in the final placement of the student, or like like is it a downfall? Is it a downside to the CV? Like, what are your views on that?
See, if you are very, very determined that a particular domain, let's say digital marketing, product management, finance, so be it, is your calling, I would say nothing is stopping you to, not go via a placement route or try something out on your own. Like I have seen my batchmates trying this and succeeding as well, where, they got placed in a company with which they were not that happy about, and they moved the earth and heaven to go after their dream company and managed to succeed, and they're doing fabulously well in their life. So my suggestion over there would be to not hold yourself back. Let's say if you are interested very much in product management, make sure that your CV reflects that you're interested in product management. So take courses, take certifications, sign up for live projects, put in that hustle, and then just start writing or reaching out to people who are, experts in those fields, who are working on those companies, to take a chance on you and make a convincing elevator pitch about yourself. Like, why should they even consider hiring you? Um, it's better than doing nothing. So that was one, like nothing is stopping you going outside the placement route. I don't think any placement org will oppose that.
Mhm.
And second is, does it have an impact on the final state? The answer is yes and no. So there are like many situations where the coin has been flipped and someone who interned in finance was not interested in it and went ahead and did marketing.
Mhm.
So that those situations are also there. So it's not like set in stone. So summer placements are not set in stone.
Mhm.
It completely doesn't determine, but it can act as a stepping stone. So if you do intern like at a good company, so your chances of getting noticed during the final placements, of course, goes up. And also to that point, what I wanted to say was like summer internship is only 2 months in a probably a 30-year long career. So always, even if it doesn't work out in the short term, it will always works out in the long term. So good to have that perspective in mind.
Okay, I think this kind of a positive mindset I think can help all the viewers and the aspirants. Thank you so much for that, ma'am. So now moving on to the next question, ma'am. Uh, what kind of like general skills, like irrespective of the domain, what kind of like general skills does an interviewer see in a candidate?
Hmm. So I'll try to answer this in the most generic view as possible. For your placement, so be it either summer or final, your those interviews are typically very short, right? It's those are not in-depth interviews. So when you move ahead in your career, you would probably have like 5 rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds, 8 rounds worth of interview. So those are like 8 to 10 hours worth of grilling. So no company has that kind of luxury during placements. So those are all based on initial impressions.
Mhm.
And so your resume plays a very large part where your academics, extracurricular activities give a sense of, how much, where the student stands, right? Like academically and also on other aspects. So if someone is very active on extracurriculars, it just shows that the person is outgoing, takes initiatives, um, drives projects to closure. And if the person is academically doing good, so is it willing to make that effort to shine academically as well. So those are those signals. So apart from that, there are other softer aspects which come into place during interview. So which is like, will the person is willing to put in the hard work to succeed, does have a positive attitude or not, is the person very very set in their viewpoints and is not willing or not amenable to any sort of change to by listening to other people's views. So those are like few softer skills that interviewers take a very quick guess and sort of a punt, if I may use the word, on candidates while they do hire.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for that. Ma'am, moving on to the next question. Can you again throw some light on certain struggles that you had to go through, but you think that has made you grow in the long run?
Sure. I'll give you like probably would be one experience of mine which would probably be most apt for this audiences. When you graduate from B school, you would probably want to change the world. The attitude that most people have, and especially if you like you graduate at the top of the class or something, like then it becomes even more ingrained. You would feel like the world would rush in to accept you. So the sooner you get out of those delusions, the better it is. It's basically like most people go via placement mode, and especially if you're a fresher without any work experience, your first job hunt is like your wake up call. So you would probably cold call people. You would email your resumes to let's say if you email your resumes and reach out to 100 people, probably 10 of them would respond back, and only one of them would take your candidature forward. So I'm not saying this was a struggle. I'm just trying to put it across as like this is part of your life.
Mhm.
So, and the more sooner you come out of that bubble, that placement is the make or break point of your life, or it's what will decide your next course of your life. That's not true. So this is how the hard work will pan out to be. So, and the more prepared you are, the better it would be. It doesn't matter how academically strong you are or which college you are from.
In relation to this answer of yours, So, ma'am, again, what do you think can help a candidate, irrespective of being a fresher or an experienced candidate? I'm talking about, like CV wise, because as you said that you'll be a person will be reaching out to, let's say, 100 companies, out of which only 10 will revert back, and things like this.
Yeah.
So, what can be the distinguishing factor in a person's resume that can like elevate the chances at least by 1% or something?
It's not much of a resume. It's like definitely like when you start job hunting and networking as you move ahead, your strength of contacts, the word of mouth plays a very big role. So once like you need to establish a reputation for yourself, and like at the end of the day, it's a very small world. People talk. So make sure that like you build your credibility very immaculately. So that's something that I would suggest. And it's not the strength of your resume, it's the strength of what you bring to the table through other softer skills. So be it like your credibility, your reputation that you build at your workplace, your willingness to research for the org where you are applying, and making them show what value you can add. That counts more than what is actually on the resume. So resume can only get you so far. If all these things don't back you up, then it won't help you tide through the next step of the process.
Again, like a genuine query that I have, and that is, ma'am, isn't like for the first like shortlisting or something, doesn't like resume play a part in that?
Yes, shortlisting, yes. So it will help you get that interview call. So let's say if you have like a stellar resume,
Mhm.
it will help you get the interview call. But if in the interview you don't come across as someone who's who comes across as someone who can't walk the talk, like you have listed like zillion things on your resume, but you can't justify why that particular project was impactful, or why the company should hire you, what value you can add. You can't convince your panelists of that. You won't be able to make the next step to it.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for the info, ma'am. Ma'am, coming a little back to your life at your B school. So, ma'am, like, how was that? Like, they say that B school is basically, apart from academics, which is definitely a constant, but you learn a lot of things as well. Let's say, like, peer learning is something which pops up a lot. So, ma'am, like, did that help you, or like, how much of an impact did that have on you?
Definitely. I mean, I was a fresher, so there were a lot of things that I didn't know when I stepped into B school. So forming groups, how do group dynamics work, how you have to be accountable to others because you have to complete a certain portion of project work before you submit, meeting deadlines. Those are something I picked up from B school, and of course, like you sharpen it and make it better as you move ahead. But that's something that I picked up from B school. So, and I also look back fondly on all the friendships that you make.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, we are mostly, like closing, like at the closing side of the podcast for today. So, ma'am, like before we move ahead, so like, what would be your like a tip or a mantra that you would like to give to the current B school students or the students who are trying to get into a B school?
My only suggestion would be like whenever you go out into the world, make sure that you are very clear of what you want to achieve. And if there is something that you want to go after, also make sure that you don't give anything less than 100% for it. So don't ever think that the competition is not stronger than you. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am. And ma'am, any last, the parting thoughts about Grow Junction?
So, Growjunction is a community for MBA aspirants, sharing with them tips and tricks on how to survive and thrive at B school. Would definitely recommend going through this community to learn more on how can you succeed at your B school, how can you land that dream summer internship placement.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words. It was lovely to have you on board. And ma'am, with this, it's a wrap. So thank you so much, ma'am, for giving your valuable time to us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much.